Hello and welcome to a Marketing Sherpa webinar, 5 steps for building links that improve search results. We hope to give you a lot of actionable information today. But first, I want to give a special thanks to Aquent, the sponsor of today's webinar, for allowing us to give you some insights into how marketers can build links that help improve search results, which we'll begin discussing in just one moment. So my name is Daniel Burstein. I am the Director of Editorial Content here at Mech Labs. We're broadcasting live from our headquarters in Jacksonville, Florida. I'll be your host. And we have also got John, Will, and Amy in the room with me here in Jacksonville. I'll tell you why they're here in just one moment. But first, let me tell you about our special guest. Joining us from the San Francisco Bay Area, we have Alex Dunks, a business development manager for full-service digital marketing agency Web Marketing 123. Alex has helped thousands of businesses achieve their online marketing goals through instructional webinars and direct consultations. Alex joined Web Marketing 123 in 2010 and was soon managing a multi-million-dollar portfolio of key SEO accounts, and he has joined us today to talk to us about SEO. Alex, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Daniel. Glad to be here.
So you can also join us and communicate with us and talk with us and ask your questions and share your advice from working in SEO by using the hashtag #SherpaWebinar. You can also ask your questions through the Ready Talk Q&A feature. I'm not going to put Alex on the spot and ask him how much Web Marketing 123 charges for an hour of consultation, but if you get your question answered by Alex, trust me, it will be worth your time. So that's why we have John, Will, and Amy here. They're going to be answering a lot of questions on Ready Talk. They're going to be tweeting on hashtag #SherpaWebinar, and we want to hear what you have to say as well and try to serve you as best we can in today's webinar. To tell you a little bit about Marketing Sherpa, I'm not going to get too deep into this. I really just want to start the webinar and give you guys some helpful information. But basically, we conduct research into what really works in digital marketing. We do that through surveys of our audience, surveys of marketers, brand-side marketers, agency, and consultants. We also have a team of reporters who conduct interviews to get you case studies and how-to articles about how to improve your marketing programs. And one of the places we publish this research is in our benchmark reports and our handbooks. So let's take a look at some of that data right now to get a sense of why we're talking about building links in SEO. This information you're seeing right here is from our 2012 Inbound Marketing Handbook. And as you can see, SEO is right at the top. When we asked marketers what are the most valuable inbound lead sources, 94% said SEO was the most important. That Inbound Marketing Handbook, by the way, my team here is going to tweet out a free excerpt through that hashtag #SherpaWebinar, and that will give you some more information. But let's take a look at our next data point. This is from our 2012 B2B Marketing Benchmark Report, and it found that external link building is the most difficult SEO tactic. Now, while this is just from our B2B Marketing Benchmark Report, which my team is also going to tweet a free excerpt on hashtag #SherpaWebinar, just from talking to marketers, we know this isn't unique to B2B. B2C as well, marketers have a challenge with external link building. And when we think about it for just one moment, there is a good reason for that. Now, I'll tell you that. But first, I want to launch today's poll. If you can launch the poll for us, John. We want to get a sense of, are you a B2B marketer? Are you lead gen, e-commerce? What type of marketer are you? So Alex can help get an understanding, and I can get an understanding of what type of information we can give you that would be most effective for you. But the challenge, the reason that us marketers have such a challenge with building links, it makes sense, right? It's the same reason that Google and Bing and all these websites look at link building as so valuable. It's because we have such little control over it. So we can take all those great SEO practices on our home pages, right, and make sure our own websites and home pages and landing pages are following proper SEO practices. But when it comes to external sites, Alex has a lot of great advice on how you can improve that, but our control is limited. And again, that's why the search engines find it valuable. It's a lot harder to game. I'm sure if there's any black hat SEO people on the phone, they'll laugh at that they found ways to game it. But in reality, Google and Bing and some of the search engines are getting better at that. So you want to close that poll, John, and we can take a look at the results? So John, you want to tell us about who we've got on the phone today?
Sure. It looks like the majority of the individuals with us today are lead generation, interested in lead generation. Secondary would be e-commerce, and third we have those that have a top goal of brand awareness.
Okay, great. Also, we have some consultancies on there and a few nonprofits that are supporting a cause. Thank you for being on here, nonprofits. So with that, we're going to jump into this 5-step process that Alex created. And the thing I really like about this process before Alex gets started is it doesn't just jump right into how you can just plaster your information all across the web, right? Like I said, link building is challenging. Alex has really taken a strategic approach to help you understand what keywords are going to be most valuable to put in all that time you're going to have to put in to get some of those external links. So Alex, you want to tell us more about this?
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. So as Daniel mentioned, we aren't going to dive specifically into exactly where to put your links and exactly how we're going to do it yet, because we need to set a good foundation and some groundwork. So in the first couple sets, we're going to figure out how we can set up that groundwork and then go into and measure things correctly, so that when we actually build those links, we'll know how to measure them and what's working and what's not. So let's go ahead and dive right into the first topic in laying a strong foundation. So there's 3 components here, and it's really about keyword selection. And it's going to be keyword selection, and then we're going to map those keywords and then take some benchmarks, so that when we move forward, we have clear measurements on exactly what's happening. So first slide here, as we see this click here, that's the actual anchor text of a link when you're clicking. And the reason keyword selection is so important within this process is because that is the text that Google evaluates when they follow a link. So when Google finds a link that says click here, they're actually giving the linking site credit for the term click here. It's funny, actually, if you search for click here, the term, at least it used to be, I'm pretty sure that Adobe PDF Reader is actually the #1 listing there. And that's because most people, when they say you need Adobe Flash Player or Adobe Reader to read this content, click here to download. And so because of that anchor text, they've actually started to rank there. So if we're trying to market our own services and we want to rank better for search engine optimization, we're going to want some links pointing to us that actually use that anchor text. Next thing we want to think about in terms of keyword selection is, in looking at this iceberg graphic, kind of what are our existing keywords that we're aware of, but what are all of the other keywords that we might need to consider? So as we look into our analytics program and track what kinds of keyword traffic we're getting, we're going to see those existing keywords, but what we also want to figure out is what are all the variations of those keywords that we could also be getting traffic from. Conversely, what are alternatives and synonyms of those keywords? Or what are some keywords that we're not necessarily aware of? Can everyone still hear? I'm seeing that a couple people said they lost the sound.
I think the audio has been fixed now, Alex.
Okay, great. So essentially, some of the keywords that we're aware of and that we're already getting traffic from may only represent a small portion of keywords. One of the things that we find among our clients when we're doing this keyword selection process is really one of the most critical components of an SEO campaign, is to consider what words are your target market using. And what we find is that oftentimes there are kind of internal keywords, the keywords that your company uses and are familiar with, and then there's external terms that your target market is actually using. And sometimes these are perfectly aligned, and sometimes they're completely misaligned. So very important that we put some thought into this and really think about all the different keywords that people might find relevant. Another thing that we want to think about is the different mindset that people are in, when and kind of how far along in the sales cycle they might be when they search for a particular term. So we group it into 3 categories here: introducer, influencer, and closer. So an introducer is going to be that keyword that introduces someone to your brand. So this could be a very generic term, like search engine optimization. Doesn't have a lot of purchase intent behind it, a little more in that research phase. An influencer is going to be a keyword for someone who's already been introduced to your brand, already been to the website, but it's influencing their purchase decision. They're getting some more information out of that visit. And then a closer is going to be the type of keyword that has a little bit more purchase intention, and someone's a little bit further along in that sales cycle. And the reason we want to think about all these different buckets is that there might be different keywords for people in each of these situations. And what we want to do is fill our sales funnel kind of from every angle. So here's the way that we look at the digital marketing sales funnel. And we see the introducers really up in these top stages in terms of problem recognition and information search. Whereas influencers, they're someone that's already aware of the problem, but they're evaluating alternatives and getting closer to a purchase decision. And then the closers, those people are at that purchase decision or at purchase. So a closing keyword might be a branded term or an actual model number. And the influencers might be kind of maybe a branded term mixed in with something else. Either way, we want to be able to fill the sales funnel from all of these different points, not just from the top. And as we think about what those closing keywords might look like, those are going to be the keywords that are going to be most tied to conversion. So if we look at this study that shows conversion rate by phrase length, you'll see that the 3- and 4-word phrases actually have the highest conversion rate for these. So this might be something like, let's say you have a company that offers human resource training and development materials and things like that. If you have a very general keyword that might be more representative of your introducer might be HR training or human resource development, something fairly broad. As we get a little bit closer, we might add a brand name in there, or we might say human resource development training materials. That might be a little on the long side, but either way, you can see how the purchase intent is a little bit different by adding that modifier word like materials. And overall, it's not going to be just the long tail keywords that lead to conversion, because again, people are in all stages of that buying cycle, and either way, we want to get them in touch with our sales rep, regardless of what stage they're in, or at least get them to our e-commerce page.
And that's a great point, Alex. We got a question here from Peter Cohn. He says, any examples you can provide on different keywords for different targets? And I believe when we were going through this, you were showing an example of shoes, about how there's different keywords you can target with shoes, whether it's top of the funnel or the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we've actually got a slide on that. So here's an example of kind of how we might evaluate some different keywords. So if we start with a one-word phrase like shoes, let's say we're Zappos.com, and we're going to rank very highly for shoes, even though it's a general keyword, a very competitive one. It is one that that they rank well for. However, if you think about the purchase intent of someone typing shoes, they might just want to know what websites sell shoes, and then at a later point, they're going to come back and fill in. If we look at a 2- to 3-word phrase like men's shoes, then we'll see that there's a little bit more purchase intention there, a little bit more specific. Someone doesn't want to just know about a shoe website, but where can they find men's shoes? However, it's still not quite signaling complete purchase intention. But if you look at a more long-tail phrase like red Nike men's running shoes, that person knows exactly what they want, and if they're able to be taken to a page that talks about red Nike men's running shoes, they're probably going to be ready to buy that, or at the very least bookmark it and come back to it if they are searching for something that specific. Another thing I want to point out about this graph is kind of the difference in competition of a keyword. So a keyword like shoes is going to be much more difficult for us to rank for. It's got probably over 1 million searches every month. So we could get a lot of traffic from it. But you'll see on this graph, it correlates to a low probability of conversion. However, a red Nike men's running shoes definitely has a higher probability of conversion, and it's actually a lot easier for us to rank because there's a lot lower cost and risk associated with ranking for a keyword like that. And we will talk a little bit more kind of about short-term and long-term goals as we get into the specifics of link building and kind of how you can prioritize your links. The next thing we want to think about in terms of keyword selection is measuring the demand. So let's say we brainstorm a list of all the different types of keywords of people all throughout that sales funnel. Then we want to use a tool like Google AdWords, a keyword selection tool, to figure out exactly how many people are actually searching for that each month. So that's going to give us a really good idea of what's the opportunity. Is it worth the time and resources that it's going to take to optimize our pages with these keywords and go out and build links for these keywords if there's only 10 people a month searching for that keyword? However, if there's 10,000 people a month searching for that keyword, certainly it makes a lot more sense for us to dedicate time and resources from our team or our agency. Another thing we want to consider is trends. So in this example, this is a tool called Google Insights for Search. Another way to access this is called Google Trends, or also thinkwithgoogle.com. And those are a few examples, but there are other tools as well. But Google does a great job of showing these search trends over time. So in this example here,
those tools, Alex, if I could just jump in for one quick second. Kim has asked, what are the best and most up-to-date website assessment tools which measure inbound links? Do you have any other tool advice?
Yeah. So in particular, when we're looking at inbound links, actually, one of the first checks that I'll do when talking to a prospect and evaluating their current situation, and particularly in light of their competitors, to see why might competitors be ranking higher, we want to look at what kind of inbound links they're already getting. And Google and Yahoo actually provide something like this. If you search, you can do a search for link : and then the website. But they actually don't keep these updated, and they're not very accurate. So there are, I would say, my top two tools. One is called Open Site Explorer, and that's a product created by SEO Moz, who's a great SEO authority, one of the industry leaders in terms of thought leadership. And they've created a tool called Open Site Explorer, where they've essentially created their own index of the web and are tracking which sites are linking to one another. And this is they do have a free version where you can see limited data, and then they also offer a paid version as well. What you can really get from this tool is not only number of links, but they have a number of metrics that you can evaluate on a page level or a domain level as a whole. What they'll also give you that's really interesting is the actual anchor text. As I mentioned in that click here example, that's the actual term that Adobe would be getting credit for when people link to the Flash download. Another tool, another good free tool, is called backlinkwatch.com. It has kind of some annoying pop-ups, but what they do have that's great is a complete listing of anchor text. So you can put in any domain and see for every link that they have, what is actual linking text to that domain. And that's pretty important as we want to understand what terms are we already getting credit for. Often what I find is all the links going to a page are the actual company's name. And a company is already going to be getting enough credit for their name. What we want to do is shift a portion of those links to their non-branded keywords. So we don't want to have all the links say Zappos for Zappos. We want to have some of them say shoes and red Nike men's running shoes and things like that. Also, just while we're on this slide, so for mobile apps, you'll see that there's a clear trend in the last 5 years where that keyword has taken off as more mobile apps have been developed. What we also want to consider is maybe terms are staying consistent year over year, but there's a certain time of year that they might be more search volume. So think of something seasonal like maybe textbooks. There are going to be a lot more searches for textbooks in different quarters of the year, and as different terms are getting started. Another example would be something like strawberries. There's definitely a season for fruits and vegetables that are grown. People are going to be researching those more different times of the year, and so you can plan your marketing efforts accordingly. And also just that last tool that I mentioned, just to recap that last question for the link tools, Open Site Explorer is one, and Backlink Watch is the other one. All right, so once we've selected our keywords here, this is what we call a keyword mapping. And the keyword mapping is very important. This is our roadmap to Google of which pages we want them to find relevant for which terms. So for example, if I'm Zappos.com and I want to optimize I want to optimize for the term red Nike men's running shoes. Well, what we need to do is send a clear and consistent message to Google that that's what that page is about. And so what we don't want to do is take someone to the Zappos homepage for red Nike men's running shoes. That's probably where shoes would be most appropriate, or Zappos.com/shoes would be the most appropriate landing page for a general keyword. However, for the more in-depth keywords, we want to take them to the most appropriate page, and this is what helps us increase our conversion rate. So in this example, you'll see these kind of three general keywords along the top here are kind of the more general keywords that describe overall product offerings for the company. And then you'll see we've got some keywords that mention smartphone, iPhone, and Android. It makes the most sense to take these people to our mobile solutions page. So how we reflect this in our strategy is going to make sure that we're using these smartphone and mobile keywords on that particular page and sending a consistent message to Google. Then in our link building strategy, when we build links to that page, these are the words that we want to incorporate into those links. And so not only do we present Google with our on-page optimization, but we add that piece of third-party credibility that links have when someone else links to us using collaboration tools for iPhone, Google is going to find us a lot more relevant for that search. And so this step is very important. So we have a very clear roadmap of which pages we build which links for which keywords. Otherwise, if we build our links for any keyword to any page, then we're going to be confusing Google because Google doesn't know exactly which page to find most relevant. All right, the last step in our laying a strong foundation section is keyword benchmarking. And there's kind of two things we can benchmark. The first one would be organic traffic. And so what we want to look at is what traffic are we currently getting from the search engines. So as we start increasing our number of inbound links and Google starts to rank us higher, we want to be able to clearly measure what effect those links have had. So we want to take a benchmark of our organic traffic and see how much we're currently getting. One thing that we'd also like to do is filter out branded traffic. So in this screenshot from Google Analytics, we can filter keyword, and you want to select excluding. And in this instance, we would remove our brand name, or even typos and variations of our brand name. What that's going to do is tell us who are the people that did not know about us, who were not looking for Web Marketing 123. However, they searched on search engine optimization or digital marketing agency, and they were able to find us through that. And that gives us an idea of essentially how many new eyes are finding our site every month. Not the people that knew about us, but how many people are we introducing to the brand. Another benchmark we can take is where we're currently ranking for each of our keywords. So once we've selected that final list of keywords and have them mapped to each of the most appropriate pages on our website, let's take a snapshot of our rankings from the very beginning, and then each month over month, let's measure that. So as we start to build links for certain keywords, we can look a month later and say, what kind of effect has that had on their rankings within Google? All right, so our second section here is talking about tracking. So the reason that tracking is so important, in the same way that we want to have our keywords, keyword rankings benchmarked, we want to know exactly kind of where we've come and where we've gone. So I believe we're going to pause real quick here for a quick poll.
Yeah, we're going to take a look now, Alex, if the audience can tell us about how they track their individual organic keyword conversion rate, if they do, if they don't, if they're only looking at an aggregate level. But while we're waiting for the poll results, I want to ask you about some of the things you already said, because the audience seems a little concerned about the Penguin update from Google, right? All-powerful Google, they don't want to get penalized by Google. So if you could talk about Penguin for just a minute, did Penguin devalue exact match anchor text? Is Penguin going to punish you for having too many optimized keyword links? What are your thoughts on that, Alex?
That's a great question. So definitely Penguin is, which came out at the end of April of this year, had a huge effect, affected over 1% of websites. And Google sent a lot of unnatural link warnings through webmaster tools to many webmasters. And many companies saw their rankings plummet because of these links. And so some of the factors that were affecting this change, I would say, are not necessarily new factors. A lot of the information that Google has put forth are really things, practices that we've been employing for a long time. However, we always try and stay ahead of the curve, of course. So one of the factors is creating relevant links that are of high quality. And Google's a little bit vague about this. Matt Cutts, who's the lead Google engineer, consistently says the best way to optimize your website is to create high-quality content that is useful for users, and then just also give search engines enough information. With inbound links, what we want to do is have high-quality content that makes sense. So if you've ever come across a link on a website, an example of a bad link that would have gotten penalized would be, let's say there's a blog talking about nutrition tips and maybe a diet or something along those lines. That might be a great blog that might be relevant for some sort of nutrition site or health site. However, if within that blog they allow links in the comments, and you go down to the comments, and I've seen a number of these sites from people who have been penalized, you go down to the comments and there's links for payday loans and cash advances and project management and shoes. Either way, none of these things have any relevance to what they're creating. So what Google is going to look at is what is the site they're linking from, what is that site about, what is the anchor text of the link that's sending to the linked site? And then on that site, on your company website, are you talking about that same topic? So what Google's really looking for is consistency here. And I'll go into a couple examples as well as we look at how to build specific links. I would say when people asked, is exact match anchor text bad? I would say it's not bad, but you need to be careful. Careful in the sense that if every one of your links to a specific page is exactly the same keyword and there's never a mention of your brand or anything else, that's going to look a little bit suspicious to Google. But if you have a healthy mix of the anchor text and maybe do different variations, mix in your brand name, swap out the wording or the order of the words, that's something that will certainly appear much more natural to Google.
Okay, thanks for your advice there, Alex. I think people get nervous because Google is a bit like the all-almighty Oz and does everything behind the curtain there and just offers these vague pronouncements about what you can and can't do without getting penalized. So let's take a quick look at these results. It looks like that the majority of people do not track individual keyword conversion rates. And then of the other half, about half are only looking on an aggregate conversion level, and then half are looking at individual keyword conversion rates. So Alex, why don't you get into how you think we should be tracking our keyword conversion rates?
Great. So I would say there's kind of two pieces as we want to think about tracking our keywords by conversion. First, we want to think about the individual landing pages. So once we are on those landing pages and say we have a form fill out, or even this could also fall in the example of an e-commerce shopping cart. I want to think about, are we actually tracking that exact keyword? And so one of the ways to do that is Google Analytics is already tracking which keywords are bringing traffic to the website. What they're not tracking is which of those keywords led to a form fill out or led to a shopping cart transaction. The way that we can do that is within Analytics, you can set up a goal. And for every time that goal is achieved, Google will record that and correlate what was it about that, or what were all the different characteristics of that visit, so you can segment by each of those. So for example, if you have a form fill out like this, you're capturing some information. Once someone hits submit or download the report right there, usually they'll be taken to some sort of thank you page. Thank you for contacting us. We will be reaching out to you shortly. Here are some additional resources for our website. It's definitely best practice to have a thank you page where confirming that you've received the order and also giving some people some resources to continue to stay on your site. But also within that thank you page, that allows for some tracking that Google can understand what's going on a little bit better. So if that thank you page is /thankyou.html, something like that, it just needs to be a unique URL, basically, that you would only get to if you filled out that form. So then we can tell Google Analytics that thankyou.html is our goal page. So every time someone lands on that goal page and completes that form, we can figure out exactly what was it that caused that. So we can find out how many people from organic traffic filled out a form. And then we can look on a keyword level, how many people that searched shoes filled out the form, or what's our conversion rate for shoes. Maybe we got 2,000 visits from shoes, but we only got 5 purchases. And then maybe we look at red Nike men's running shoes. Maybe we only got 100 visits, but we got 5 purchases. So it's important to figure out our conversion rates on that individual basis. Then we can make decisions as we move forward and figure out which keywords we want to continue promoting and building links for, as building links is a very time-intensive activity. I want to make sure we're maximizing our resources there. As we're thinking about evaluating success, this is a graphic here that unfortunately describes many of the prospects I talked to and how their current tracking is in place. Let me give an example. So if you're link building and it's leading to more traffic and conversions, that's a very broad statement. What we want to figure out is which are the keywords that are actually making a difference. What if it's just 2 of your 20 keywords that are delivering conversions? Would you know that, and would you keep building links for 20 keywords? Or could you hone your campaign and focus on only the 2 that are leading to conversions and then find some new variations that are very similar to those words? Link building is an ongoing process that is a lot of effort, so we want to make sure to maximize our time, as I mentioned. And because your competitors are also link building, we want to make sure that, one, we don't build all our links at once. That's another thing that Google might raise a red flag for if you're building your links at too fast of a pace or an unnatural pace. So build them consistently each month. But every month, by having proper tracking, we can actually go in and figure out which ones led to conversions or leads, or what were the keywords that actually led to a closed deal. There's advanced tracking that we can set up that would pull in that keyword with a lead into your CRM like Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics or whatever system you're using. And we could actually pull that keyword in, and when that deal closes, for a B2B company that has a longer sales cycle, when that deal closes 3 to 6 months later, we can go back and assign it to a particular keyword. And obviously that data is going to take a little bit longer to get to. However, very valuable if we can actually tie a specific keyword all the way to revenue and ROI. All right. Our next section here is links as diverse as keywords. So really what we want to think about here is how are we diversifying our link portfolio? What are all the different strategies we want to employ? And we'll touch on kind of this topic throughout the remainder of the presentation. But what I want to first start with is external versus internal linking. So external links are very important, as we've talked about. They provide third-party credibility to Google. When someone links to you with your particular keyword that's not your brand name, or maybe a combination of your brand name, but also that term, Salesforce.com, for example, has plenty of links that say Salesforce, plenty of links that are Salesforce.com. They also have a lot of links for CRM or CRM solutions. However, they also have a lot of links for Salesforce CRM. So even though that's not a true non-branded link, they're still associating that keyword with their brand, and that is going to help. So that's one way to kind of mix up our anchor text. And by doing that, by having all those links out there, not only are we associating those keywords with our brand, but we're also giving Google more ways to find our site. You can think of external links as entry points to our website. If we have 100 inbound links to our site, there are 100 different places that Google can find us. However, if we have 5,000 inbound links, and I definitely would not recommend adding 5,000 in any short period of time. That definitely takes a number of years to achieve typically. But if we have 5,000, then all of a sudden Google has 5,000 different ways to get to our website, and it's going to likely find our website way more often. So think of external links as entry points to your website and also to those deeper pages of your site. Instead of Google going to your home page from the keyword shoes, when Google follows red Nike men's running shoes, they're taken directly to that deeper page and it gets more exposure. Once Google is in your website, then we can utilize internal linking. And this graphic you'll see the graphic on the left has these orange arrows that are linking in between our pages. So we can also utilize our anchor text in that way, consistent with the strategy we're employing for external links. So if Google finds our red Nike men's running shoes page via a third-party site, and then also within our Nike running shoes page, there's a link that says red Nike men's running shoes or red running shoes or something along those lines pointing to a specific page, Google's better able to associate that keyword with that page. The graphic on the right here is what we call content siloing. So a good strategy to employ is to make sure that your content on your website is organized into themes. And so for Silo 1, that might be men's shoes. Silo 2 might be women's shoes, kids' shoes. Silo 3 might be clothes and accessories and something like that. By grouping things into silos, and these would essentially be represented by the different directories that are within the URL, Google is better able to understand that theme. And so we can do that by internally linking within those silos in particular. And then with our external links, we're creating themes around all the topics that fall into that particular silo. Google's algorithm is thematically optimized, so Google will start to pick up on those themes over time.
Hey, Alex, you mentioned that we didn't want to add 5,000 links at once, and that was a bit of overkill. But Sean and Mark were asking, what is a good number of links to add per month, especially for a startup site? What would you recommend for a link building goal?
Great question. So I would say that it really is going to depend on your site and your industry. So, for example, it's not common for sites to not uncommon for a trending topic or a site that's gone viral, or let's say a video that's gone viral or something like that, to get 100 or plus new links in a month. However, that's really more at a natural pace, and something that it's going to be any natural links that are built are not going to necessarily look the same as the ones that we're intentionally building for SEO. So in order to do that, I would probably stick to a number somewhere between 20 and 50 a month. 50 is definitely on the higher end. And what I would also do, let's say for a startup website that's just getting started, don't go into 50 immediately on the first month. Ramp up slowly. That's going to look a lot more natural to Google. And it's not that Google doesn't want us to build inbound links. It's perfectly natural for us to want to have more sites linking to us. From a user perspective, we want as many sites as possible having a link to us so people can find us easier. And that logic applies to Google finding us as well. So I would start slower and then ramp up. And the other thing is I would stay consistent over time. We don't want to build 200 links in our first couple months and then drop off completely, and then add another couple hundred links later on. We want to be consistently building up links which will look the most natural to Google. So I would say, more specifically than the number, it's really about the pace and what would look natural to Google. Okay, another piece we want to think of in terms of diversifying our link portfolio. The topic of no-follow links versus do-follow links. So a no-follow link is on the actual HTML code of the link. There's a tag that says no-follow on some links. The best examples I could give of these links would be from social media sites like Facebook and Twitter. So there's a couple reasons for this. So anytime you're linking from your domain and linking to another site, you're essentially sending some link juice to those other sites, or sending some SEO credit their way. And the way that Google's PageRank algorithm works, which defines how much link juice is getting sent to each page, the way that works is each time you link, you're leaking some of your link juice to other pages. So we don't want to have too many external links on our site. Because Facebook and Twitter can't control how many people are linking to other domains, and in particular, if we want to create 1,000 links for our domain, it's going to be really easy to post 1,000 posts on Facebook, for example. However, what Facebook and Twitter and other sites have done to mitigate this is add the no-follow tag, so that not anyone can just add a link that is, one, leaking the SEO juice for their domain, but also giving credit to a domain that's not necessarily a third-party credible source linking, such as an industry blog or forum that might be linking to you based on a review or something like that. So first thing to be aware of is that no-follow links are not passing on SEO value. However, that doesn't mean that Google doesn't necessarily see them. What Google actually wants to see is a healthy mix of both of those types of links. If we had only the do-follow links, and let's say they were only non-branded terms, and that was our entire link portfolio, that's going to look a little bit fishier to Google, because it's very natural to have a presence of the no-follow links. So what we want to do is make sure that we don't look suspicious to Google by only having these SEO links. We want to utilize social media channels to also promote our brand, because Google can still pick that up. And something we will touch on at the end of the presentation is how social signals are counting for basically third-party credibility, the same purpose as links, but in a different way. So definitely make sure that all of your links are not do-follow links. We want to make sure to have a healthy mix. Another way to diversify keywords is to evaluate risk. And one thing we get a lot of questions about, I would say we get emails about and clients get emails about, are link exchanges. Someone emailing and saying, hey, we have a website that's related to yours, and we'd be willing to offer you a link to your website with the anchor text of your choice. All that we ask is you place a link back to us, or you place a link back to a different site. But either way, kind of a link, exchanging a link for a link. Or maybe it's a three-way link, that site A links to B, B links to C, and C links back to A. This is a technique that used to work back in the beginning stages of SEO. Made a lot of sense. So if an inbound link gives credit, let's each give each other a link, and we'll both get moved up in the rankings. However, Google quickly realized that anyone can do this, and it's not exactly the same form of third-party credibility that they're looking for. So these links, one, will not necessarily improve your rankings, and they could actually hurt you. This could cause Google to send an unnatural link warning. And that's not to say that you can't link to sites that link back to you, but I wouldn't count on them for SEO credit, and I also wouldn't fall for any of the link exchanges that people are offering. And to be honest, I'm not sure why those people are offering them, because they're not benefiting themselves either, and more likely to get a flag from Google for their own website. All right, so moving into the fourth section here is to tailor our content strategy. And as we think about content, there are really two things we can think about. One is our on-page content, and one is the content that we can use for inbound links. And the reason that I talk about on-page content is, as we talked about, one of the major factors for the Penguin update is finding content relevancy. So when Google follows that link from, say, the diet and nutrition blog, we'd better be talking about diet and nutrition topics or something related on the page that we're linking to from that blog. Also, we want that to match up with our anchor text. So one of the things that we want to think about is what kinds of content we're utilizing on the site. So one of the first things that we should do is inventory our content. What do we have in terms of existing content, and what also might be future content that we can leverage on the site or off of the site? One example would be white papers and case studies. So you'll often find kind of menus like this on a site. They say download brochure, technical specs, and maintenance sheet. This is all great content that we, one, can take our users to and give them kind of more relevancy, and Google will see this content. The more content is definitely king in the eyes of Google. We want to have as much relevant content as possible, so that when we link using those words, Google comes to our site and realizes not only do they get credit for this link, but they've got all this content on the site. The idea of more entry points just allows Google to find your site, and then if we're well optimized on page, we can benefit from that. One of the other.
We have a question here from Brad. He wants to know, how do you get links when the topic of your site isn't thrilling, for example, construction products or manufacturing? And I just want to let Brad know that we've got this great case study I'm going to tweet through #SherpaWebinar about a concrete equipment manufacturer that made really interesting YouTube videos, and I can't think of anything more boring than concrete equipment manufacturing. And from having written for all different types of B2B categories, such as complex software architecture, keep in mind that content can be really thrilling to the people in that industry. You'd be amazed. I want to hear, what are your thoughts on that, Alex?
That's a great question. Definitely something that we run into a lot. And I would say with a lot of our clients as well that are still kind of in the beginning stages of crafting their online marketing plans and starting an SEO plan, these are some of the things that aren't in place either. So this is when we look at future content that we might want to create. You want to think about what is it that our target market is interested in. One of the best ways to do that, I find, is by speaking with a sales team. And not that marketing doesn't have a lot of great data and know a lot of these things, but as I mentioned, there tends to be kind of internal language that we use and the things that we assume people are looking for. But sales teams are on the ground and they're talking to these prospects, and they're more likely to kind of have a better idea. So that can, one, help us with kind of keyword topics. What are the trending topics that people are curious to know about? Let's develop some content around that. So YouTube videos is a great example. If there is something that we can provide that is relevant to our industry, it maybe is not going to get a million views on YouTube. However, if we can get it in front of our target audience, then we can certainly see some success. What I would also recommend is to find out exactly where your target market is. What are the industry-specific sites that people might be visiting? And I imagine we'd all be surprised to find out how many probably blogs and forums there are around the web for something like concrete equipment manufacturing. So we can look for these different types of sites that are already where people are having these conversations about these products, and find a way to kind of insert ourselves in that conversation. In a forum, we could reply to something and offer some free advice, some free consulting with a link back to our site, and it says our brand name and our and one of our non-branded keywords. And then if people find that site, great, we've created some exposure. If not, Google has at least found us on a concrete equipment manufacturing forum, linking back with the appropriate word and seeing that consistent content on our website. Another great example, if we can't find a ton of industry websites, let's say there's just not a whole lot of presence for concrete equipment manufacturing, we can create relevancy on our own with the content that we're syndicating. So, for example, if we have a PowerPoint presentation that we've created, we could syndicate that on SlideShare, and we can put a link back to our site there. So although SlideShare is not necessarily about concrete equipment manufacturing, we are creating an entire presentation and relevant content around that topic, and then Google will actually see that link. Another example would be articles or press releases that we create. They're not always going to be on the most related sites, but if we can put them within the right category within a page, and then we write our content that is free content that we're willing to promote and give out to people, by having that content that talks about our exact industry and topic, we can mix in some links for our particular keywords, and then Google will find us relevant for that particular word as, once again, our content on the linking page and our page on their website matches up very well. All right, another thing we want to think about in terms of content is suitability. So this Venn diagram here points out what we want to tell our audience is not always in line with what our audience wants to hear. There's usually kind of a sliver in the middle in terms of what we should say. So just want to point this out and think about, what is the best content to attract users? Same idea of thinking about those internal and external keywords. Maybe we don't need to go into a detailed product specification. Maybe what we need to do is talk more about the actual application of our products. What is the problem that people are searching for? Maybe they're not searching for concrete equipment manufacturer, but they're searching for, how do I get a more efficient concrete turner? Or how do I increase my turnaround time? Or something like that. So I'll also think about kind of application-based, and then think about where is that middle ground where our audience might be searching for, and then base content around that. Then from there, we can link to our site, and people can dive into more detail once they've already found us relevant. Another good thing to do here is, again, talk to sales, figure out what the kind of messaging is, what are people really concerned with. And then the other thing is also test. Start building links, getting traffic from keywords, and figure out which are the ones where people are really more engaged in the site, which ones have a lower bounce rate, or which ones are causing people to spend more time on the site, etc. Another thing we want to think about is syndication, and I kind of already mentioned this. So we can syndicate our press releases, we can syndicate articles, we can syndicate our infographics, PowerPoint presentations, any of the content that we have that we're willing to give out and share with people. We can syndicate that content and then kind of create our own relevancy with the content that we're submitting. Another thing we want to think about, too, is how reasonable or likely is it to produce new content within your organization. So definitely content is not an easy task to create high-quality, useful content that not only Google, but also users will find useful. So we want to also kind of build out a plan in terms of what kind of content can we create, or what content do we have in printed brochures that we could turn into articles and other kinds of content to syndicate. All right, that brings us to our last topic here, and this is our 3-month game plan. So now that we've laid this strong foundation, we know that we're tracking everything in terms of, we know what success is going to look like. We know how we're going to measure that. We've planned out how to diversify our links, and we've planned out our content, both on page and what we can use to syndicate. Now, how do we apply all of those things and actually build those links? So the first thing we're going to do, or that I'd like to cover, is low-hanging fruit. So in this slide right here, the orange arrow on the right side of the screen, this is what the traffic increase that was seen from moving from the 21st position to the 16th position. So that's the top of page 3 and moving to the middle of page 2. That produced a 50% increase in traffic just from moving up those 5 spots. Just being another page forward, that's one less click people have to make. It's a lot easier to scroll down a little bit or see something within that the above the fold section on the search engine results than clicking over to that next page. However, what we also see in the graphic to the left with the green arrow is having basically the same increase from page 2 to page 1, from rank 11 to rank 6, caused a 273% increase in traffic. And basically what's happening here is the click-through rate on the first page is so much higher than the second page that we have more to gain by getting to the first page. And that doesn't mean that we don't want our keyword that's on 21 to get to 16 or even to the first page. But what will give us more benefit and more of an increase in the shorter term is those keywords that are right outside of page 1. So as we're trying to prioritize our keywords and where do we build links for first, what is our short-term strategy? As we were looking at a keyword like shoes, we saw that there's really high cost and competition. What that means is if we're not ranking within the first 100 listings of Google or the first 10 pages, it's going to take us a very long time to get to the first page. And that still might be a good keyword for us, but we want to also think about that. That's a 6 to 12-month goal. Whereas if we have a keyword that is right outside of page 1, we stand to gain a lot. You see the biggest increase by moving up just those 5 spots as opposed to moving from 95 to 90 or 21 to 16. Anything we can get on the first page in the short term should be the first thing we prioritize.
Okay, and Alex, we have just a few minutes left. What are some other things you think we should be doing with our 3-month game plan?
All right, so another thing is press releases, something I can mention we can syndicate. Most companies we work with are regularly producing press releases. What we can do with those press releases is insert some keyword links within those. So an example that we've seen for Web Marketing 123 is that we made the Inc. 500 top 500 private fastest growing companies in the U.S. this year. So we put out a press release. We were very excited about this, and it actually got picked up by Yahoo Finance. And Yahoo Finance is not normally a site where we would find a link to our website and not a site that we could reach out to directly. But by using a reputable source like PRWeb and putting out this press release with our non-branded link, we're actually getting credit now from Yahoo Finance. So that's something that we can do is utilize those press releases that your team is probably already making and just insert some links within those. Another thing we want to do is think about images and alt text. So if we have images on any other site, one thing we can do is make sure to name that image properly so we can start to show up within image search if it's related to a keyword of ours. The alt text is the alternative text of an image. So because Google can't read an image and doesn't know exactly what's on it, we can add some descriptive text that tells Google what this keyword is about. So I mentioned Salesforce earlier has a lot of Salesforce CRM links, kind of a branded, non-branded link. Salesforce has their logo on hundreds of client sites, people that say powered by Salesforce CRM, something along those lines. But because that's just an image, it's a little logo, Google is following the link and giving credit, but it doesn't know what that link is called. But by adding alt text, that actually acts as the anchor text. So by adding that keyword within there, Salesforce is actually able to get more credit. Another topic here is guest blogging. So there are hundreds of sites out there that are accepting guest blog submissions or even powered completely on guest blog posts. So guest blogging is definitely something that we can look for and find out. A good way to find it for your industry would just search for guest blog or guest blogging and then your industry name or a keyword related and see what blogs you can find. Reach out to those webmasters and offer to write a blog post in exchange for having a link within that post to your site. In particular, this is great for industries where don't seem exciting, but we know those conversations are still happening online. We just have to look for them. It may not be in the places that you're necessarily aware of currently. The fifth part of our 3-month game plan is relevant directories. And so directories are something that's come under a little bit of fire in terms of people building links in directories that are not very relevant. For example, sites that just are full of links and they're not really categorized. However, if there's a directory, a web directory that is listing businesses and websites, it makes a lot of sense that we want to be part of that for users to find us and give us another entry point. So if we're able to find the most relevant directories that are about our industry or that are categorized by industry and on a page with like websites to ours, then that is actually a good directory to go after. And again, I would mix in the anchor text of those links as branded and non-branded so that that's not as not suspicious to Google. And the last piece here, I apologize I'm moving a little bit fast because I just know we have a couple minutes left here, is social. About 2 years ago was when Google and Bing first announced that they were starting to account for social signals. As I mentioned, the nofollow links that are on social websites, those are not necessarily sending the same link credit to your website as, say, from a relevant industry blog. However, Google and Bing are starting to pick up these social signals. So the main way we can do this is just by associating our website with our different social media profiles. And then within those profiles, we just want to create engaging content and get interaction from our users. So some of the factors that Google and Bing will associate with the social success and that same idea of third-party credibility that we're getting from links are things that prove engagement. So something like, it's not how many tweets you have, but how many times people retweet. Or not how many times you tweet, but how many followers you have. Or for YouTube videos, how many plays and how many subscriptions, really to things that prove engagement. For Facebook, how many people are sharing your content, or how many likes do you have on your page. And just to show you a couple screenshot examples of what some of these things are looking like. I'm sure many of you have noticed with the rollout of Google+, Google has changed its search results page a lot more to incorporate many social signals. And so these are just examples of some of the things that they might be noticing. So we have personal Google results. There's a personalized SERP option in the right-hand corner right here. And then in addition to the organic results, we're also seeing people that might be relevant, and then these personal results here these are people that have posted within your networks and have said something related to the keyword you're searching for. If we take a look at Bing search results page, I searched here for San Francisco restaurant. It showed me all of the people that have made a post relevant to this or who live in San Francisco or have talked about restaurants recently. And also what Bing does, it's not in this screenshot, but they'll actually provide some Facebook. If someone has posted a link or commented on a particular site, it can actually show that your friend has commented here. So that's just kind of an overview of social. Not only is social good for adding third-party credibility, but also if you do create some viral content, then you can actually earn links in a natural way by more people sharing that and posting it on their own blogs and websites, etc.
Thanks, Alex. I've got two great questions here from our audience, and I might try to make you late to your next meeting just so you can answer them. I'm going to ask you those questions right now. There's a few other things I've got to cover, but after I cover those things, I want to hear your answers because I'm curious as well. Mark wants to know, how does syndicated content work with Google's rules about duplicate content? You were talking about syndicated content before. We're all worried about getting punished for duplicate content. We're worried about that syndicated content ranking higher than our own. I want to hear your thoughts on that in just a minute. James asks, you were showing how to benchmark where you are with your search engine results to see which keywords to get on to attack first. Obviously, a word on the fifth page for a Google ranking is going to be a lot harder to raise up than a word lower on the first. So James asks, how do you address personalized search results in picking keywords based upon rank? I'm going to ask those questions in just a moment, Alex, but first I would be remiss if I did not thank today's sponsor, Aquint. If you're not familiar with Aquint, today's biggest brands rely on Aquint's experience and knowledge to staff their marketing, creative, and digital teams. So if you're looking to hire talent or if you're looking to find work, visit aquint.com, AQUENT.com. Of course, I want to thank Alex Dunks. Does a phenomenal job today. He works for webmarketing123.com. As he said, that's one of the fastest growing private companies in the U.S. according to Inc. 500. If you want to know more about digital marketing and webmarketing123, you can go to webmarketing123.com. Download the 2012 State of Digital Marketing Report. Also, if you have more questions, we've got a ton of questions. We couldn't answer them all today. You can email SEO@webmarketing123.com. If you want to know more about inbound marketing in general, we've got the MarketingSherpa 2012 Inbound Marketing Handbook. I shared some of that research at the beginning of this webinar. You can get $100 off the list price just for taking the time to attend today's webinar. You can use that mechlabs.com/aquint100 and use the webinar attendee code 283-HB-5005. Keep that up while I ask Alex these questions, but I believe our marketing team is going to include that in the follow-up email. Okay, Alex, so I want to know, how does syndicated content work with Google's rules about duplicate content?
So great question, Nick. So run out of time, I'll give my abbreviated answer. But I would say that we do definitely something we want to be careful of. That came up in light of the Panda update, which first happened about a year and a half ago. There have been many updates to Panda since, and the idea is we don't want to have content on our website that is across all other websites. That can be the form of duplicate content. So what we want to do, and it lacks a little bit of creativity if you think about it in terms of if we have content on our site, syndicating it to all the other websites. We want to create different content for our syndication, but something that can be done to avoid that being too much work, if we're constrained on bandwidth, is just repurposing some content. It just doesn't need to be exactly the same in the eyes of Google. But what we could do is maybe take a blog post about a certain topic and then take a white paper that we have about the same topic, steal a little bit from each one and repurpose it and create something new that's still useful for people but is not the exact same as that content on your website that you use for third-party syndication.
Okay, then we also want to know, how do you address personalized search results in picking keywords based upon rank? If you're not familiar with personalized search results, if you're logged into Google or just based on your location, Google could serve up different search results for a keyword based on your personal interests, what you've clicked on in the past, even where you're located. So how can you overcome that when you're benchmarking your keywords?
That's a good question, and really I think a lot of data is going to come out about personalized search, and it's still changing. So I would say it's a little bit too early to tell necessarily. One of the reasons for that is because personalized results that I see are not the same as my client sees and not the same as their target market sees. So it really depends on your market. One thing I would maybe consider is what are some of the trending topics on Facebook and Twitter? Maybe look at Twitter hashtags around your industry. Social is really going to have an influence, not only on the types of conversations people are having and the keywords they're using on those sites, but now those things can come up under personalized results. If they search for that term, they might see personalized recommendations. And the reason that Google and Bing is moving to that is they know that people trust their networks. Increasingly so, even if personal networks are not necessarily used for business purposes. People are not necessarily going on Facebook to research their latest business venture, although some definitely could be. People still, by seeing the recommendation from someone, I know that I personally have realized a number of my Facebook friends are in the same industry as me because they're posting about the same stuff, and that certainly sparks my interest in them. So I would say pay attention to social networks and what are some of the trending topics there. Otherwise, I would warn that a lot of people are not seeing personalized search results if they are not signed in to their accounts or if they don't have a Google Plus account. Google Plus usership is very high. It's very fast growing, but it doesn't mean that everyone is necessarily signed in all the time, particularly as they're using work accounts that are not assigned to Google Plus. So I would say that it shouldn't change your keyword strategy. Most of that data is in terms of the Google keyword tool is still going to be accurate. However, I would pay attention to social networks and just take that into consideration.
All right, thank you again, Alex. Thank you especially for staying late. I'm going to click through to Alex's final slides, which she will not have a chance to sum up now. But by clicking through these, they're going to be available on the replay. You can pause the screen. You can read them over in more detail when that replay comes out. I believe we'll be emailing that to you. So thank you again, Alex Dunks from Web Marketing 123. Thank you to our webinar sponsor, Aquin, and thank you for taking the time to sign in. Please fill out the survey that you get when you sign out because that is going to help us make these webinars better. Thank you.